The last video I made last night before I went to the ER, which is maybe TMI, was about a school shooting. And the first video I'm making today is about the death of an incredibly talented artist, an actor, a director, of course, his beloved wife. And unfortunately, my first thought was, I hope this isn't political. Rob Reiner was an outspoken activist, a fighter for democracy, for human rights. And I thought, I hope this isn't political. That was my first thought. And my second thought, unfortunately, before making this video, was to go to Truth Social, something that no sane person should ever have to think in their life. Let me see what's happening on Truth Social, but I did. And what I found for so many reasons was incredibly disturbing and upsetting. Not just because of the tragedy that happened tonight, the death of Rob Reiner and his wife that I want to talk about, but just because of where we are in this country and how we feel every single day and how tiring it is. I want to talk about Rob Reiner. I want to talk about his life. I want to talk about this numbness that we shouldn't have to feel. And I want to talk about Trump. So please stick around for all of it. But unfortunately, we do have to start with this devastating breaking news tonight. And then I want to play a clip of Rob Reiner talking about the fight that we must continue to have. I don't want to make this political. I want to make this clear, but it's just what I want to kind of get off my chest tonight. But I want to start with this devastating breaking news. Breaking: Rob Reiner and wife allegedly killed by their son, according to shocking report. Hollywood icon Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner were allegedly killed by their son, according to a stunning report from People. People citing multiple sources identified Nick Reiner as the alleged perpetrator in the killing of his 78-year-old father and 68-year-old mother. Nick Reiner, according to the People report, battled substance abuse for years. He said he was homeless for long periods of time, telling people he often slept outside for days and weeks at a time.
This is just the beginning, and people have to understand our democracy is being taken away from us, and we only have about a year. Just to be clear about this, and people, you're doing a great job, and a lot of other people are doing a good job to tell people what is actually happening in this country. But make no mistake, we have a year before this country becomes a full-on autocracy and democracy completely leaves us. And we're looking at the election in 2026, and Donald Trump knows. He knows that in a free and fair election, he will lose. He will lose the House. The House will flip and will become into Democratic hands. There'll be committee chairs that'll be able to hold hearings, and this is the last thing he wants. So this little, these ICE agents and the National Guard, and now he's called the military in from all over the world to talk to them about, don't be surprised when polling booths are surrounded by American military in the guise of making sure that the elections are fair and that nobody's tampering with anything. And when you see violence breaking out, which there'll be protests, there'll be inciting violence, there'll be some violence, and they'll keep that. Then you'll see the commandeering of voting machines, ballot boxes, to make sure that that election is secure. Well, what that means is that he will then commandeer the election. So we have to make the public absolutely aware that their democracy is being taken from them. And we have to do everything we can to make sure people understand that. People don't, it's a vague term, democracy. It's like, what does that mean? The Constitution, we don't know what that means. People care about their pocketbook issues, the price of eggs, they care about their health care, and they should. Those are the things that directly affect them. But if they lose their democracy, all of these rights, the freedom of speech, the freedom to pray the way you want, the freedom to protest and not go to jail, not be sent out of the country with no due process, All these things will be taken away from them, and we have to educate the public that this is what's happening right now in America.
Want to be clear up front that I don't want to use a tragic loss of life, the murder of 2 people, as an excuse to turn everything into a conversation about Donald Trump. I don't want every moment of grief in our lives to be filtered through him. But at the same time, I feel compelled to talk about how devastating it is that we are forced to live with this level of violence constantly, and how we are conditioned to immediately think about who the perpetrator might be and what that will mean politically. I know that sounds strange, but stay with me for a moment. Think about how much fear people felt waiting to learn the identity of the suspect in the Charlie Kirk shooting, hoping it wouldn't be a trans person, because everyone knew the right would seize on that to further target and abuse some of the most marginalized people in our society. And only after it was revealed that the suspect was a white man did Erica Kirk speak about forgiveness as the path forward. Tonight, I was scared we'd hear that this was politically motivated or framed in some way that would immediately be weaponized. None of that adds to or takes away from the horror of what happened, but the fact that we even have to brace ourselves like that says something deeply broken about where we are. It's insane that we feel forced to categorize shootings, to distinguish between different kinds of killings, and to sort through which systems failed this time. Maybe instead of obsessing over individuals, we should be interrogating those systems more directly. But here we are, trying to process not just loss, but the implications of loss in real time. When I went on Truth Social to see whether Donald Trump had said anything about this, about a man he would almost certainly insult, the first thing I saw was Trump posing in the lobby of the White House, writing with that infamous photo from the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt displayed behind him. And I kept thinking, what does this say about how he treats violence? A man did die in Pennsylvania that day, a firefighter, a husband, someone deeply rooted in his community. Trump wore the jacket at the RNC, but after that, he barely spoke about him. And now, referring to the shooting at Brown University, Trump shrugs and says, "These things happened today," and just moves on. It mattered more than anything when violence touched him personally. Now it barely registers. Erica Kirk speaks about political violence, yet said nothing about another shooting that occurred the same day her husband was killed, or about the many shootings that have happened since. And that silence tells us something. They don't care. And the rest of us feel numb, disconnected, exhausted. Right now, people on the right are mocking Rob Reiner's death online, joking about it. The same people who aggressively police anyone who quotes Charlie Kirk's own words. They're laughing because, to them, this victim was one of ours. Someone on the left. Someone who stood up for democracy. Just some guy in their eyes. The fact that this is how death is processed in our politics is genuinely heartbreaking. That's why I'm here tonight. Honestly, just brokenhearted. My first thought shouldn't be, I hope this doesn't get politicized, or what will Donald Trump say about this? But it was. And that says a lot about the moment we're living in. It reminded me of the night Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, when Trump's own staff didn't tell him before he went on stage because they didn't know what he might say about a woman who had just died because it might be politically inconvenient. I know some people might say, why are you talking about Trump right now? Why not just grieve? And I understand that. We lost a brilliant artist, a committed activist, a good person that deserves space. But it's also painful that we don't get that space anymore, that even in grief, we're forced to anticipate cruelty, exploitation, silence, or mockery from the most powerful people in the country. Isn't that sad? Because it truly hurts my heart, and the numbness hurts too. But why wouldn't we be numb? This happens every single day. Mass shootings happen daily in America. They're just scattered enough that they don't always dominate the news. We are living in an ongoing epidemic of gun violence. A young woman at Brown University, just minutes away from where this shooting happened, had her PTSD re-triggered because she had previously been near Parkland during that massacre. 2 school shootings, experienced from a distance, but still deeply traumatizing. Back-to-back days of tragedy, except it isn't back-to-back, it's constant. Every day. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop the blue heart in the comment, and until next time, I will see you soon.